We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk, 1180, 1230 KGEO, 1410 KERI, and now in Albuquerque, New Mexico on 1000 KKIM, and across this great nation on the Internet on knookmedia.com. We were going to have Dr. Waleed Ferris back, but unfortunately there's a problem with the scheduling, and we will have him back in November, so we're just going to keep on talking to these three brilliant individuals from the small city of Tehachapi about the plight of small cities. So, we were talking about Measure F, that is going to be really your response to what you've seen from the federal and the state government, where they keep on playing around with your funding. Is that a proper way of putting that? Would that be a fair assessment?
I think it is, actually. And I'll remind everybody that this tax measure is collected in the city of Tehachapi and will be staying in the city of Tehachapi. It's not something that the state or the federal government could come raid.
They can't touch it.
Because it is a local measure, it will remain in our city. That's the best part, actually.
Greg, I'm not a big fan of measures and bonds. But when you look at the information that you've put together, it's really interesting because on a $20 purchase, it's only a 10-cent increase.
Right.
And on a $100 grocery bill, there's a zero increase. And then you look at a $200 purchase for tires or something like that, and we're only talking about $1.
Right. And those dollars add up.
Yeah, a little bit here, a little bit there, and helps put new roads in there and fix roads.
That's exactly right.
Now, I'll tell you, Greg, one great thing on that little flyer that Clay is looking at, you put pictures on here, so Clay was able to look at the pictures and figure it out. So,
I had a problem with the basket at first, though, but I figured it was food.
You figured it was groceries.
It's not plastic. No plastic bags in the state of California.
They're going to charge 10 cents for that bag, but for the paper bag.
This sounds exciting. I guess you folks are pretty excited about it. Have you got a lot of support in Tehachapi for this?
A lot of support. As a matter of fact, Susan, you know what? I'm going to let you answer that question because you're spearheading that, so go ahead.
And I don't want her to kick me again. So.
Yeah. I've been pounding the pavement going downtown. We have some women business owners, and I'm a woman, and I seem to relate better to them to sit and talk and explain all this. And some of them said, well, it's, no one's going to shop here. And I go back to, my brother calls it his sock story, and I call it my underwear story. When we lived in Mojave.
Are you sure? Now, this is a family station.
It's fine.
Okay.
When I lived in Mojave, after Carol's department store and Kmart left, we couldn't buy those things there at all. All we could buy in Mojave was groceries. So we had to drive out of town. And I've told these business ladies I would much rather pay a tiny little half cent than to have to drive out of town to buy something like that. And someone told me, well, you're letting my competition in Golden Hills not, it's going to be cheaper. Everybody's going to drive there. And I said, why do I want to drive, some places in Tehachapi you can drive 5 miles. And I said, why would I do that when you're right here? It's a half a cent. It's a tiny little thing. And I know that people, it's the thing about a tax. No one wants a tax. And I appreciate that. But half cent isn't going to make much difference one way or another. And I've been going around to a lot of social clubs and businesses and things and saying the same thing. And most people are coming on board with it once you sit down and explain.
Well, a half cent here, a half cent there adds up to be lots of cents over the period of time. But the important thing here is this money stays in Tehachapi.
Yes.
The state cannot get it, and the federals cannot get it.
That's right.
That's the key, I think, for passing this measure.
Right. And then back to Marty's comment about support. Actually, we have a lot of great support. The Greater Tehachapi Economic Development Council has backed it. Their board of directors voted unanimously to support the measure. They actually put together the $1,000 budget to help promote it in the form of signs and banners. The Senior Citizen Center, can you believe it? Senior Citizen Center on fixed incomes. They voted unanimously to support this measure. So we have earned the trust of the community of Tehachapi.
How'd the council vote?
The council voted unanimously to put it on the ballot. It's going to be voted by the registered voters in the city of Tehachapi.
Well, okay, I'm waiting for you to make a comment. Like, Marty, did you vote when the Senior Citizens Board voted?
I didn't have to. I just looked at you.
I knew where you were going to go with that, right?
Marty, you're president of the association there, I believe.
Go ahead, Clay.
No, Ed, You're a councilman. And what made you vote for this particular measure? What was the key issue?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm like you, Clay. When I was first approached, actually I was against it. I even told Greg that. I said it'll never fly. But as I got to talking more and more with him, and as more issues became clearer to me, I realized that now's the time. We have earned the trust of the people of Tehachapi. And I think that's very clear. The proof is in the pudding, as they say.
Well, it's all for the people of Tehachapi.
Yeah.
And only the people of
exactly.
Tehachapi.
And we're talking about a very minuscule amount of money. And so I was convinced that this is the right kind of measure that we can pass because we are transparent, because we have done the things that we said we were going to do, and we will continue to do that. I've been on the council now for over 12 years. And let me tell you, I think the stability of the council is paramount on an issue like this because we're not just willy-nilly doing something. We're really thinking it through.
Okay, now question for you in that regard, because, again, we're looking at the plight of small cities. Is this something you're seeing other small cities try and attempt to do?
We did some research, and there have been a couple small cities from time to time have tried this. Most succeed. 9 out of 10 actually succeed with sales tax measures. It's obviously the mood of what's going on in the community and the need and the leadership and so on and so forth. But one thing that I want to point out is that the city of Tehachapi has a solid budget. We've been in the black. We've not run in the red. We've not laid anybody off. We've not reduced services. We're going to be fine without this if the voters choose to not move forward. So nothing will change. But if this is passed, we'll go from good to great. So I want to do more. I want our business to grow. Not necessarily bring hordes of people in and, do the LA business model. I'm talking about good, solid planning for our city and our community.
You talked about roads. Are there other things this money will be used for?
Oh, absolutely. Roads, being general fund money, lots of flexibility. It could be roads, it could be fire, it could be police, it could be partnerships with the Senior Citizen Center, with the Chamber of Commerce, the EDC. We have, like I mentioned earlier, we have 60 events annually in the city of Tehachapi. And those events are not just because we want to throw a party. Those are economic drivers. Tourism is a misunderstood industry. And it brings a lot of money into local economies. I think it's the third or fourth largest industry in California.
Yeah, in spite of everything going on.
So a lot of the money that's going to be paid on this is going to be from people visiting Tehachapi.
Could be. Absolutely. So. There are only 9,000 people proper that live in the city of Tehachapi. There are about 35,000 in the community of Tehachapi. All of those people come into town for their services, right? They're shopping, their schools, their hospitals. So they're users, if you will. It takes money to run the business.
Well, and I have to tell you, Ed, like you, I was really skeptical when I heard this in the first place because I think in the 4 years we've been doing this, I can't think of any tax measure that we've endorsed at all. We just don't do it. But I'm inclined to endorse
the
this
Koerner Foundation.
Well, yeah, but that's a nonprofit.
Yeah,
like
true.
the Marty Pay Foundation, that's definitely a nonprofit. Wasn't intended to be that way, but that's the way it's working out. But with what's going on with the state and the feds, I don't see where small cities have any choice. Because what rolls downhill, and right now it's rolling down into the local communities because the state knows they can take advantage of you, and they have. So, and it's not fair. So it's not giving you much choice but to come up with measures like this to take care of just the infrastructure that has to be taken care of in the local community.
The state has blundered in so many issues in the last few years. And I can start with AB 109 when they revamped the correction system and they turned loose, 30,000 inmates. And who has to take? They don't have to take care of them anymore,
sure.
but the locals do,
and
it costs money. And and yet they didn't pass down the funds that they saved on that so that we could do a proper job. And then you get into redevelopment. So, it's just it's really interesting to see how they make decisions. And I know Greg said they were stupid decisions. They're not only stupid; they're dumb.
Definitely. Now, what we're going to do is we were going to have Dr. Waleed Ferris on, but unfortunately we had a scheduling problem, so we're going to keep you for the next segment and talk about this for the full hour.
You know, Dr. Ferris is probably involved with Congress right now on what ISIS is, what's happening with ISIS over in Iraq and Iran and those areas.
Definitely, because I think we had a problem with the scheduling. I think he thought we were going to tape in the evening instead of in the morning, so unfortunately. Anyways, we'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180.